related vision.
Welcome, light seeds and truthers, loving beings and conscious entities. This is a podcast with veil removed from the new Templars, Moksha, Freeman, and Roy. Today we are going to talk about simulated reality related questions and going through a list of truthers or not truthers. Love, light, abundance, soul and oneness is what we are and why we are here. Thank you, Vale, for being who you are and with us.
Sorry, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great. The Germany-America connection. What if this is a virtual reality and consciousness is fundamental, which means consciousness is the computer, and if this is the running system, what if a collective of individuated units of consciousness are working together as an AI to program and control this whole game, maybe because they know how to play, because they are all playing that game not longer, because time is relative or part of the program, but maybe they are controlling the blueprint of that game because they are collected as a collective more data about it than other individuated units of consciousness which are acting on their own by playing just single avatars, but not really able to control their own avatar. That's maybe why for these collective entities, secret societies, brotherhoods, or other occult stuff are so important. To share their knowledge about the matrix and to be the AI that is controlling and programming the simulation, which means that it could be that even Q, Trump, Pleiadians, or whatever, just AI simulated parts or informed data of that game in which we are in. That's question number one.
Yeah, so there's a few ways to look at this, and this is a very complex question because you're touching on a lot of topics here. I think when you throw AI, artificial intelligence, into the question, it's adding an additional layer of analysis and objectivity where we're trying to understand reality constructs. I think without addressing specifically the AI suggestion, looking at collectives of individual units of consciousness that are working together, I think we really do see this as what some people refer to as reality bubbles or subsets of realities. In other words, in our conscious collective and the unconscious collective as a whole, there are different perspectives and different ways that people see the same thing. In other words, two people are looking at the same thing, the same event, the same history or the same future or whatever it is, and they see two completely different things. Right. And so they're setting different intentions. And as groups of individuals, whether these are individuals that are what we think of as, the normies or just regular people versus those people on the upper echelons of our culture in brotherhoods or other groups like this, secret societies, the way that they collectively set their intent is forming an energetic construct that is a sort of a self-perpetuating system as long as they continue to focus their intent on that particular outcome or that particular objective. And so this is why it is so important in the Great Awakening space for us to be, for the most part, on the same page, because as a whole, as a collective, our gathered and combined energies are creating a specific reality for us. And so as these bubbles expand and contract, then those particular timelines or reality spheres become either dominant or recessive in the system overall. So if you've got a large portion of people all believing and setting their intentions on the same idea or the same outcome, as I said, then that reality construct, that reality bubble becomes more energized because you've got that many more people who are inputting their energy into that spiritual economic system. And I think what's happening, and probably what you're suggesting, is that those people who are more aware of their ability to control their energy and to manifest certain outcomes through their intent can have a more dominant effect on everyone else, because their construct and their reality that they're inputting information becomes the most powerful one, because they are using perhaps esoteric knowledge or occult technology to enhance what they're doing. And we're sort of on the grassroots side of things, working together as a cohesive, unified whole when we are to do these things. So without specifically addressing the AI, I really do believe that groups of individuals together are essentially manifesting a specific reality for that group. And when that group adds members, that reality sort of becomes more powerful. And when it loses members and that idea sort of dies away, then those bubbles start to shrink and become smaller. But I do believe that we are also, as a complete collective of both conscious and unconscious souls, souled individuals, in an overall bubble. And then we are sort of subsets within that.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. That would lead me perfect to question number 5, if I could ask you the question number 5. What's about the idea that we are feeding the matrix with all the information that we as a collective inside the rabbit hole, which means if we would stop collecting the data about the secret stuff, it wouldn't be there at all, or as you just said, we would not feed it. No rabbit, no hole, just gone. Information equals reality, as Tom Campbell is saying. What's about the idea that we are collecting all the data from nothing to inform this rabbit hole reality in which we are in?
It's another fascinating question. And I think, again, you could kind of look at it from a lot of different angles. I believe that we have to look at the field of potential as sort of a wilderness, if you will. I don't know if that's a word that makes sense in German. A wild place, right? That has not been explored. And so, if you were to go into a wild place, you'd have options to go on foot. Perhaps you go on horseback. Perhaps you have an off-road vehicle. Perhaps you're lucky enough to have a helicopter or some other vehicle to get you to more places. Or if there's a waterway, you have a boat. And then if you have the time and the resources, and you recognize that not everyone can have an off-road vehicle or a helicopter, you build a road. And so as we energize these various reality bubbles, we are using intuition and innovation intellectually and spiritually to find our way into these wild places. But we don't know what we're going to discover. The people that are in the esoteric space, these brotherhoods, if you will, the societies and whatnot, they already know what's out there in the wilderness. Perhaps they've already been, perhaps they have a map, perhaps they have some kind of information that leads them to know more about what these spaces are. We are sort of discovering it as we go. So depending upon your process, if you're going to go through and do it on foot, it's going to take a lot of time and it's going to be very difficult. If you can fly over it with a helicopter, you can do it quickly and easily, but at a much greater expense of resources. So I think realities can be this way sometimes, because we definitely do have a collective of individuals who know more than everyone else. And so they have some of the secrets and they have some of the hidden knowledge. And so they have a certain advantage, but they also operate from their own construct in which they make choices about how they do things. And for lack of a better term, I think sometimes these secret societies, brotherhoods and what can be kind of lazy sometimes. They operate from this idea of superior knowledge, so they don't put as much effort into things sometimes. Those people like us who are trying to survive and trying to find a way forward and have a good quality experience while we're here and not to suffer as little as possible, at least that's what most people are trying to do, don't have that additional information. But what they do have is innovation, tenacity, passion for what they do, and will find ways to do this. Maybe they're going to climb a tree, and so they can get to a higher vantage point and see what's farther away in the distance, and then make decisions about what they're going to do and going forward. So I feel like we are sort of information explorers. We in our higher selves know everything, but our physical manifested reality is one in which we have to explore, and we have to find these things as we go. And so I don't know if that directly answers your question, but I do think that as we feed into the matrix, if we'll call it that, I mean, the matrix does become more self-aware of what's going on. And one of the things that was brought up, you mentioned Magenta Pixie as one of the people that you wanted to talk about, and I'm a big follower of hers. She talked about eavesdropping on star seeds. In other words, the Dark Brotherhood is constantly trying to pry into the thoughts and into the transference of information that's happening non-locally in the awakened collective to essentially gather intelligence about what's going on. And so we have to be careful as light workers to guard our thoughts and to not unintentionally give them clues about what our next move is, because they will use it against us.
Right. That that would maybe there's so much to re-listen, so I cannot answer or we could do re-questions, but I would just lead to Ronald maybe and later or on another podcast. Yeah.
Was? Soll ich?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not very much following the Tom Campbell movement. It's Ford who does, but I followed your feuding factions videos, and that's my big question, because we have to relearn so many things in the world, forget and learn new, that I don't want to waste time following the wrong people. So I assume you don't know some German people, but I made a list of people I know from US or who are internationally known. So I wanted to play a little game. I read from a list of 27 names, and you would answer with either true or truther, CIA, shill or gatekeeper, clickbaiter, or I don't know him or her. All right?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, Bill Cooper.
True.
Phil Schneider.
Don't know him.
He made some UFO films and at a very early time.
I apologize. There's going to be quite a few people in here I don't know, but that's okay. We can keep going.
Okay. Aaron Russo, the same?
Don't know.
Yeah, okay. But Kerry Cassidy.
True. Truther.
Yeah. Dan Burish, going with that.
Don't know Dan Burish.
Oh, he was informing about looking glass technology.
Ah, interesting.
He worked with it, and Kerry Cassidy interviewed him.
Ah, intriguing.
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar, absolutely true. Yeah, that is 100% real.
Great. Dranvalo Melchizedek.
I do not know that individual.
He wrote a book, The Flower of Life. And he was in the pyramids, and he had contact to Thoth, Egyptian pharaoh.
Intriguing.
Okay, then Laura Eisenhower.
This is tough because I've kind of gone back and forth. I'm going to say truther. I think her heart's in the right place.
Okay, but Corey Good isn't.
I don't believe so. No, I mean, not for me personally. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, Emery Smith. You know him?
Emery Smith, yes. I actually met him at Conscious Life, and
great.
So I'm going to say. This is tough because he's been involved in a lot of drama. I'm gonna say that he's a truther ultimately. I think his heart's in the right place.
Yeah, because he was interviewed by David Wilcock, who changed completely. I think, or he was great, but he isn't anymore. I don't know why. Maybe it was his wife. I don't know. But, yeah. Okay. Speculation. David Icke.
David Icke, truther. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for David Icke. I don't always agree with everything he shares, and some of his perspectives I think are a little bit fear porn, slightly. But
Yes.
I think he's a good guy.
Yeah, and he's contra Trump also, but yeah. Oh, I see here Alan Watt. That's maybe we leave him out. I don't recall why he's on this list. Bill Still.
Now, I'm familiar with the William Still from the 90s that was an author that wrote about, gosh, I guess conspiracy stuff, maybe survival things. Is that the person?
No, he was making a documentary or many documentaries about the Rothschild and the Rockefeller and all that stuff.
I'm going to say, if it's the person I think it is, I'm going to say truther.
Okay. Teal Swan.
Teal Swan is tough. I'm going to say clickbaiter.
Aha. Ah, yeah. And Jill Feeler.
Well, you skipped over Barbara Marciniak. She's definitely on my Pleiades map. So that one's, I would like to comment on that because that's been kind of interesting. She's, I'm actually a fan. I have all her books,
Yes,
but she is not, she's been criticized by the Pleiadians a few times, not so much for her content, but just for her desire not to disclose the names of her contacts and trying to make some money. I'm gonna say truther. She was an important part of my awakening.
Yeah.
Jill Feeler, I don't know who that person is.
No, not important. Kelly Coffey, do you know?
No, I do not.
She was referring to a trap. We are caught when we die. We could go in the trap to go into the light or to go back. But there's another way to circumvent reincarnation. It's very funny. Okay, Elena Dana.
I'm going to say that she is probably CIA.
Ah, wow. Same for JCK, Mark Atwood. No,
I'm not familiar.
Not familiar. Ah, yeah. Okay.
I may know their content, but maybe not their name. So that's why these are tough sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Simon Parkes.
Oh, this is a tough one. Simon Parkes has probably as many enemies as he does friends. And he is a friend, perhaps, of Magenta Pixie. Oh, gosh. I'm going to say that he is a clickbaiter for me personally. Dylan will disagree, but I'm going to call him a clickbaiter.
Ah, okay. Okay, there's discrepancy.
Yes.
Okay. Miran Keshte?
Not familiar.
Not familiar. He was with Free Energy Machine, but maybe a cheater. Linda Moulton Ho.
So Deep met her at, I guess this would have been Contact in the Desert. Met her a couple times, maybe at Conscious Life as well, and we've talked about her repeatedly. I'm going to call her a gatekeeper.
Yes. Keeping which gate?
I think that she is filtering information through and sort of choosing which things to focus on and which things not to. I don't think she's just putting it all out there.
Yeah. Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock, also very much a fan. I just picked up one of his books recently. But I think that he has a very, very selective range of topics that he wants to discuss, and he doesn't talk about everything. So he's very. But I'm going to call him a truther. I like his style. I like what he's doing.
Yeah, Robert Bauval, maybe the same. It's
I would put him in the same class.
Yes. I don't even know this one, Christopher Dunn. I think he's also in this.
Going through your list, the only other person that I know is Elon Musk that's on your list, and I could give you my opinion on that. But unfortunately, I'm not familiar with these names, and I'm probably familiar with the content, but maybe not the authors or the presenters.
Okay. Yeah, Thomas Williams, Truth, Honor, Integrity show. He has a huge knowledge and has very long podcasts, or with 3 hours or 4 hours each. And from Russia with Love, you could look that From Russia with Love, which is James Bond. But
yeah, I might be inspired to go back to quite a few of these people and look them up.
yeah. Just to answer my question, even. Okay,
Yes.
that's also for Anna van Reich. They are enemies. Thomas and Anna are enemies, and I don't know. Jeffrey Prather was reporting about a war, ET war in the Pacific, and he also knew very much about Space Force in the sense of satellites, above satellites, or technology which goes behind all communication and can record it. And yeah, that's well. Okay, and the last one is veil removed. Truther.
You be the judge. You get to decide for yourself, right?
I think you're definitely a truther.
Yeah, me too.
What else should you be? It's
Right, exactly.
yeah, it's with the Templars. Maybe the Templars are wrong on some of the feuding faction figures, but the intent is the most important. I think your intent is clear.
Yeah, and our feuding factions stuff that we do, videos 1, 2, and 3, and the map itself, which myself and Deep Time and Dylan have worked on together. We've collaborated on that several times. Yes. Is really an opportunity to inspire people to go out and ask questions and look at things, not really trying to dog anybody. And it is called alliances and traders, right? So there's a whole group of people. We really wanted people to see the interconnectedness of things and to focus on that.
Very good. I'm honored and yeah, very good. And I've stepped back for the last 5 minutes for Ford.
Yeah, I'm not pretty sure if I should go on with another question, but to continue the list, yeah, what's about Thomas Campbell?
Thomas Campbell, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned in question 2 about Tom Campbell, about My Big Toe. So I'm not familiar with this, but the question is very, very intriguing. So I don't know if you want me to talk about that or...
Yeah, the short question was truther or not truther?
Yeah, so I'm not aware specifically of My Big Toe and his big cheese concept, so I wouldn't want to render an opinion there.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe a short question, so to finish that podcast and maybe do another one for the other questions. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. So what do you think about spiritual leaders or spirituality itself? Isn't the spirit just the isolated part of the soul inside this physical matter reality, feeding the ego and doing anything to stay separated from the soul, the love, the fire? The reason why I'm asking this is I'm inside a group, or I'm following a group I'm not really in, of Holo Feeling, Udo Petscher, it's a German guy, and they're really taking every word, even every letter and lute to find out the meaning of what it is. And so another group, it's called the Universal Medicine Group, it's Serge Ben-Hayon. They're talking about that the spirit is just the word spiritual is just absolutely overvalued, and the people are taking it wrong. They don't know that spirit is finally the falling angel, not something that is goddess or whatever. So what do you think about spiritual leaders and feeding the ego and to stay separated from the soul and whatever?
Yeah, so good question. And again, I want to make it clear that for me in English vernacular, I use the word spirit and soul interchangeably. And I don't know if that's something unique to me or if that's something unique to the States. But I understand what you're saying. In other words, that there is sort of different compartmentalized energies or The difference between mind and spirit has been, a topic that philosophers have talked about for forever, and mind, body, and soul is how they used to talk about it. So to address the first part, spiritual leaders, this is a very difficult thing because everyone that's in the human, what you call the physical matter reality, is everything that we perceive through our eyes and ears, through these organic constructs, is filtered by those things. In other words, we only see a very small slice of the visible light. We don't see infrared light. We don't see this whole spectrum of energy out there that some insects can see and we don't. Our hearing range is limited. Like, you think about dogs that can hear things we can't. So, our senses are pretty limited, and our human brain acting as a filter to our higher consciousness is always sort of in the way. And I think when people talk about out-of-body experiences or after-death experiences, what they're also talking about is the falling away of the humanity part of it, and having a perceptual awareness at the soul level that is, more expansive than we have through our human minds. Spiritual leaders are tough because they are of the flesh. And so anyone that's out there, walking around and walking and talking as a human being, no matter what level of spiritual evolution they're at, is always filtering and is always dealing with these filters. And that's why I've always been so drawn to the Etherians. And I use the word galactics a lot because I feel like I say Etherians and now I've lost everybody. But really, when I say galactics, for me, Pleiadians and whatnot, what I'm really talking about is Etherians. I'm talking about people who are in a much higher plane of existence, and they are humanoids of sorts, but they are not, physically incarnated in the way that we are. And so they don't have the limitations that we have. So I think that spiritual leaders on Earth is a big challenge. And this is one of the big sort of obstacles or challenges or growth opportunities for us to deal with the fact that we're humans interacting with humans for the most part. And so every person that we run into that's in a leadership position is filtering themselves through these organic minds. The issue of spirit versus soul, again, I think this is part of the construct of consciousness. So the consciousness in a physically manifested reality or physical matter reality is something that I think is sort of like an operating system of sorts. Not quite the soul in its purest form, but a approximation of the soul. Consciousness attempts to approximate what the soul is trying to achieve and also trying to perceive. And so I think consciousness is a filter for that. And so the Dark Brotherhood and the adversary knows that they can't attack our soul directly, but they can attack our consciousness, and they can attack that operating system and hack into it, which they do on a daily basis, through brainwashing and mind control and hypnotic suggestion and spellcraft and whatever else, all the techniques that they use to attack that. And I think the ego is a construct of physical reality that helps us to stay alive. It helps us to be competitive in an organic world as animals of sorts while we're here. And so ego serves a purpose, but then it's always the tool of the dark to use that ego against us and turn us against ourselves.
Oh, great. Yeah, I have some difficulties because of the words consciousness, soul, spirit, and in my view, or coming from the my big toe view, but I'm not sure if will stay so deep inside of that community, because there are also many parts that I don't agree. But the consciousness is giving the soul to the avatar. So the consciousness is fundamental, and the soul, even also the soul, they can't do anything to the soul, but they can hypnotize the spirit or do anything what they want with the spirit, and that's how they maybe act, and whoever they are. So anyway, but I think out of these answers, which I have to re-listen and run, there will coming follow-up questions, and there are still some other questions on the list. So maybe on another podcast would be great. if you like. So thank you.
I would love to do that, and I would love to go through this list. And I think we could probably spend a few weeks or maybe even a few months going through this list. And I really like the energy that you two have, and the depth that you're willing to go into what are very, very complicated ideas and very important ideas for us in our lives. And I would absolutely, when I can, offer my time to keep going through this list. I've really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I can say, I would like to have, I did not look up the word ecumene. Ecumene, it's like the religious people meet to synchronize their views and to get to one perspective rather than all the different perspectives of different religious views. And so should we do the same. We should try to form a community that is unhackable, because everybody knows everybody, and we all know we are the truthers and the others are the betas and the I don't know. So that would be my goal in the time being.
I like that very much, and I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to answer your questions. I would like to do this some more, and I can't believe that you're willing to wake up so early. Perhaps next time we'll do this a little bit later in the evening my time, so maybe it would be closer to your regular mornings when you all want to get up. I do not want to ask you to get up this early, so we'll plan this ahead so that you can have breakfast first before we can do this.
Simulated vision.